It wasn't by some kind of accident that Tyler ended up in the Marine Corps. Ever since he was a little boy, Tyler had been dreaming of wearing a khaki uniform and participating in complex military operations that only real men could handle. Unlike most recruits, Tyler signed the contract at a fairly mature age. At the time of joining the Marine Corps, the man was already married and raising a 6-year-old son. It's hard to say what exactly prompted Tyler to make such a decision. It was most likely because of the difficult financial situation his family was in after Tyler had lost his job. His wife Vanessa didn't take this news very well, feeling rather skeptical about her husband's idea. She didn't believe that service in the Marine Corps could rectify their situation. Don't you think it would be better for you to find a job you can actually do? Like a handyman at a construction site or a delivery man? Why would you want to live in the barracks and go through all that military training? Vanessa said. But Tyler was adamant he stubbornly followed his childhood dream and wasn't going to give up on it. People are usually this determined only when they finally decide to follow their true dreams and desires, something they've strived for their entire life. The only person excited for Tyler was his son, Billy. "Dad, are you going to wear a uniform and learn to skydive?" the boy asked, not even trying to hide his delight. "I don't think that everything will happen so quickly, son. But yes, you're right. I will learn to do that someday," Tyler replied, smiling. Despite his wife's skepticism, he did pass the selection process and got enlisted in the Marine Corps. Only then, having experienced the hard Army life, did Tyler realize the importance of true male friendship and mutual support. While honing his skills to perfection at the Pari Island training camp, the man met a recruit named Richard, who also lived in South Carolina. A friendship quickly developed between the young Marines, united by a common idea, which helped them survive the tough Army drills. Richard and Tyler covered each other during difficult missions, and all the other soldiers of their unit thought of them as brothers. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. The professionalism and military skills of the Marines improved every day. From yesterday's civilians, they turned into real professionals in their field. The Marine Corps gave Tyler the opportunity to serve for the good of the motherland, which for a man who grew up on patriotic ideals wasn't an empty phrase. Unlike his friend, Richard enlisted for the sake of a good salary and the chance to build a career in the Marine Corps. Moreover, Richard was a confirmed bachelor who always made fun of Tyler for spending all of his free time writing letters to his family. "If I were you, I'd be more careful. Left all on their own, wives often seek support from other men," Richard said with a meaningful look on his face. Tyler only shook his head in response and hurried to change the subject of the conversation. In the depths of his soul, he understood that there was at least some truth to his friend's words, but he didn't want to believe that his wife would ever betray him. Being sure of Vanessa's loyalty, Tyler stoically endured all the hardships of Army life and was glad that he decided to commit to serving in the Marine Corps. Unfortunately, the first wake-up call wasn't long in coming and was delivered by a fellow Marine who lived in the same city as Tyler. Bashfully lowering his eyes, Brian Smith told Tyler that he saw his wife in the company of another man. According to the Marine, Vanessa was hugging the stranger and acting as if they knew each other very well. "No, that's impossible. I'm sure you're mistaken," Tyler exclaimed. But Brian stood his ground and insisted that there could be no mistake. And only Richard smiled meaningfully, having gotten his theory confirmed. However, the young Marine didn't want to gloat, but rather simply stated the fact that Vanessa might be cheating on Tyler. Tyler couldn't handle being in the dark. He was feeling very anxious and couldn't pull himself together. He already noticed that Vanessa had recently become rather reserved and rarely ever called him anymore, only if something very important happened. Moreover, the woman seemed to always be in a hurry, which was why their conversations were always cut short. Due to his young age, Tyler's son Billy couldn't explain what was going on with his mother, and it was unlikely that he actually knew anything. At some point, Tyler even decided to leave the service and go back to his wife and son. Upon hearing about Tyler's plans, Richard turned pale and grabbed his friend by the shoulders. "Stop! Do you hear me? Don't rush into anything. You don't have to ruin your life to find out the truth." Tyler shuddered, and the scales fell from his eyes. The young Marine knew well that he couldn't just leave the training camp as he pleased. Therefore, Tyler calmed down a bit and decided to test Vanessa's loyalty in a slightly different way. Thus, the man wrote a letter to his wife in which he told her the unpleasant news that he was seriously wounded and would need special care. As soon as Vanessa received the disturbing news, she immediately called Tyler. "I'm badly wounded, dear. Unfortunately, I might never be able to walk again," said the young Marine. His words were followed by an eerie silence. Then Vanessa broke the silence and said, "Well, what do you suggest I do? Become the wife of a disabled person and take care of you for the rest of my life? This isn't the life I dreamed of, Tyler. Maybe this kind of life is fine for someone, but not for me." Having finished her unpleasant monologue, the woman hung up, while Tyler plunged into a state of deep shock. The young Marine expected to hear anything but that. 7 years of marriage didn't seem to mean anything to his wife. Now, Tyler no longer had doubts that his wife had been unfaithful. Her every word and every decision was full of betrayal. About a week after that fateful conversation, Tyler got divorce papers, which Vanessa decided to file in absentia. At the same time, the woman didn't seem to be the least bit worried about her son's opinion on the matter, even though the boy really didn't want to part with his dad. But Vanessa was unstoppable in her desire to start a new life. Having filed for divorce, she immediately started thinking about finding a new husband, someone more successful than her ex-husband. Meanwhile, Tyler continued to serve in the Marine Corps, despite everything that happened in his personal life, and he never once regretted that decision. Together with his platoon, he found himself a part of all kinds of missions, which are rarely talked about on television and are usually called special operations. The most interesting thing was that during one of those missions, Tyler did get wounded, for real. Fortunately, it wasn't life-threatening. While getting treatment at the military hospital, Tyler met a nurse named Monica. The young people immediately felt drawn to each other, which was obvious to everyone around them. Visiting his friend, Richard couldn't help but notice that beautiful young nurse, since her looks couldn't leave anyone indifferent. "You see, life isn't that bad, my friend," the Marine said, smiling. Tyler spent 2 weeks at the hospital, and that time was enough for him to develop a relationship with Monica. So much so that by the time he was discharged, they were already engaged. The young Marine had only 3 months left on his contract, which made his fiancée very happy. Monica persuaded Tyler to take a break in order to have a rest and reconsider his outlook on life. Since the woman was an orphan, when Tyler's contract ended, she moved to his hometown. Tyler was extremely happy to be back in the house that had been patiently waiting for his return for so long. Only now, it didn't have Vanessa and Billy in it, since by that time they had already been living with another man for several months. Moreover, the ex-wife deliberately didn't allow Tyler to see his son in order to sever all ties with him. Nevertheless, Billy had his own take on the matter. He repeatedly suggested that they should move back in with his disabled father and take care of him as before. Of course, neither Vanessa nor her little son knew that Tyler was actually healthy and feeling just fine. Since the city in which Tyler was born and raised was quite small, he had to bump into his ex-wife eventually, and then he would find out everything once and for all. It happened by accident during a walk in the park. Tyler and Monica were walking down a shady alley, holding hands and enjoying every minute they got to spend together. Therefore, they didn't even notice when they came face to face with Vanessa. She was walking arm in arm with the man, who was clearly in a state of extreme intoxication. Seeing her ex-husband in good health, the woman froze and then bashfully lowered her eyes. Tyler understood everything without words and didn't focus on the unenviable position of his ex-wife, who chose an alcoholic and a gambler as her new husband. The man was only interested in his son, who at the whim of his mother was forced to live in such a dysfunctional family. "I want to warn you that I intend to get custody of my son. I'll take you to court for it," Tyler said, and defiantly turned to his companion. Vanessa wanted to say something caustic in response, but when she saw Monica's eyes, she stopped mid-sentence. Instead, she just kept on walking, dragging her drunk husband with her. Tyler didn't like wasting words, so he got down to business the very next day. It took the loving father about a month to get custody of Billy. The man knew that he was doing the right thing, saving his son from the harmful influence of his negligent mother and her alcoholic new husband. Having returned to his father's house, Billy easily got along with Monica, who was very fond of children and dreamed of having a big family. Looking at his happy parents, the boy never stopped repeating that he wanted to have a brother or a sister. But only time could tell whether his wish was destined to come true. Meanwhile, Tyler and Monica smiled mysteriously in response and promised their son both a brother and a sister. The young parents were so confident because Monica was already pregnant and the ultrasound showed that they were having twins, which meant that they would soon have a big and happy family.